out loud. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm in a Zoom room, as I say, with at least one other person and maybe eventually a few more people. And we're doing role play today. And I really want to tune into our own brightness. I feel like something that happens when there's a lot of trauma in the world and when there are a lot of things going on around us. For me, I know that for me, sometimes I feel like I shouldn't shine brightly or I shouldn't appear too sparkly when there's a lot of darkness around. And I feel like it's kind of the exact opposite, that when there's a lot of darkness, we need the sparkles more and more. We need the brightness, we need the shininess. So for me, I sit with myself and work on processing the material that's going on. So I'm just inviting this role play today to be a real processing of any kind of dark material that is happening in your own body. And there's a few ways that we can do that. Obviously, gratitude, tuning towards gratitude. But I think that it might be easier to not try and clear the darkness by doing something else, but maybe just allowing it to be there and acknowledging it and allowing our body to go through whatever kind of processing it needs. And I'm going to start lying on the floor. You could also do this seated. So everything that I'm going to do in here, you could do in any way. You could do it laying down, you can do it from all fours, you can do it seated, you can do it in a chair, on a bed. And we're just going to invite in micro movement to work with processing and dropping down some of the stuff. So I'm going to lay down. And what I'm going to offer, I'm actually going to bring this all the way down to the floor, cat eye level. And what I'm going to offer to start with is to just let yourself drop into the floor, or if you're seated, let your bone weight drop down into your pelvis. And just slowly, as we're feeling the bone weight dropping down, and a big white kitty walking right in front of the camera. And by big, I mean little. We're going to just turn our head gently from side to side. So it can be really slow, really gentle. Maybe adding a little bit of sound, but letting us come into our own awareness and our own awareness of existing in a body. Breathing. And inviting our body to connect to the earth, inviting our body to connect to the sensation of gravity, inviting the weight of our bones to just sink down, to become heavy, and to connect into the earth. And as we're turning our head, it could be so slow, and it doesn't have to go like tracking evenly. You may find like one little area where you want to stay with just a little movement for a while before you go either back or further in that direction. So don't feel like this has to be like just tracking one way and tracking the other. You can stop and take a little time in different areas. And as you're in there, yeah, we're connecting into that primitive brain, sort of our brainstem area. And when we orient and see that we're safe, we give our body that deep message that we are safe, that it's okay. Just inviting in any kind of sounds, any kind of sighs to release and to relieve anything that you're feeling. Almost like we're polishing our diamond soul, where we're polishing our multi-colored dragon eye soul that's in our being. And we're just allowing the movement to release any kind of stuckness, stickiness, gripping, or tension. Breathing into the floor, bones very dense and strong, and letting them really drop down into the floor. And so for me, what's happening naturally is that my spine is starting to move a little bit more. So we've probably all spent lifetimes of learning to inhibit movement. If any movement arises, or if your body decides it wants to do anything, allow it to happen. knowing that you can always inhibit the movement again. You can always come to stillness. You ultimately have the control. So just allowing it to move or not as feels right to you. And something that I like to do is also come into this place, this occipital joint where my head is connecting onto my spine, and start to move smaller and smaller. And I'm going to close my eyes with this, and I'm going to move. So really starting to come into actual real micro movement where it might be so small that nobody can see it. Just dropping my awareness into that place and feeling into it. Can I make it smaller and still sense that I'm moving? If it happens that you're on an exploration that requires more movement than what I'm offering, by all means, go for it. We're all in this field together, in this field of this energetic field of whatever is going on. So, and I'm finding that as I make my head turning side smaller, the rest of my spine again wants to move a little bit more. So I'm going to let that bubble up and happen. Allowing my nervous system to kind of percolate. So this deep sort of central channel of my brain down through my spine out into my body. And it's like when we sense things, it's like an electrical response that we sense those things. So we're letting that sort of feel, the electrical response, soften. It might still be very active, but let it become easy. So there's no extra work to do, just softening, listening, freeing up, and maybe nudging a little bit. Letting any kind of hard, sticky parts just fall away, melting into the ground, letting the weight, the gravitational pull of the earth and the weight of your bones so grounded and connected, letting that soften what's on the outside of it so that there's no extra holding. You're grounded, you're connected, you don't have to do anything. You can just come into the sensation of being a body on the planet. And thinking of like whatever's in your body, any kind of gripping, any kind of tension, any kind of holding around any kind of ideas, even like, where we've learned certain holding patterns culturally, we've learned holding patterns by the messages that we've taken in through the media, politically, familially. We're right now allowing whatever those holding patterns are, maybe those little rigidities or stucknesses that aren't bright and shiny and aren't full of love and joy, the sort of darker things, letting them have some space to move or some space to exist without having to change them. And as my hands have started to go online, so my hands and fingers are starting to do their own reprogramming. So maybe other body parts are happening for you. Feeling free to sort of free up the river, letting the stuff that's there, maybe being able to hold it without judgment. That's a way of sharing with it, holding the things that you're holding with some compassion without the need to erase. So this sense of like polishing our sparkly diamond doesn't mean that we're taking away parts of ourselves. It just means we're softening our grip on them, maybe allowing ourselves to see things that maybe we haven't seen before, or to feel things that maybe we haven't felt before. And so sometimes that can bring emotional stuff up, and that's okay. Again, we always can inhibit, we can always stop it and come to stillness or easiness or familiarity anytime. So that's always online, that familiarity, always invited in to come to something that feels okay and comfortable. So for me, sometimes when things are happening in the world that are particularly harsh and horrible, and I feel like, oh, I shouldn't be too bright and shiny. I shouldn't express in a certain way. But then I get these messages from the world that say, yes, yes, we need your bright and shininess. We need you to express in a certain way. So it's like this dance between what's going on and the stuff in the outer world, and then how that's landing in my body. And then what do I feel like I can share from there? What do I feel like, what do I feel like I can bring to the table that will help people, that will be loving, that will be kind, that will be compassionate, and maybe fun and maybe playful. So I'm going to start to let my rolling get a little bit bigger, allowing the water in my body to sort of slosh around. So we started with that really earthy, grounded nature of the bones. And inside of the bones, we have the bone marrow, which is more fluid than the density of the bone. So allowing that bone marrow to start to translate to this idea of slow fluid. And then outside of that, even some sloshy fluid. Breathing into that. And we had the idea sort of the electricity of our nervous system, our senses as things come in. And I sort of equate electricity to sparks and fire. So just throwing some elements into the mix. And you can grab onto any of them and dance, move with them in whatever way feels nurturing and nourishing to you. Yeah, and I'm starting to let, like, if my whole body is a ship on this ocean, I'm letting the whole ship start to move. The arms or maybe the sails. So we've got the water, we've got the wood of the ship, we've got the sails and the air, the wind. Letting the whole thing move, but in a very comfortable, comforting way, like lulling you on this deep grandma nervous system level, like grandma rocking you in her rocking chair. So the grandma boat on the ocean with its nourishing sails, nourishing breath, and the water underneath you or inside of you supporting you. Letting yourself really move in ways that feel good. And sometimes, I say this often, but sometimes it's really easy to work with our pain. Like, oh, I can really feel this pain somewhere. So I'm going to keep kind of going to that place. My awareness is very deeply related with this pain area. If that's the case, that's fine. But see if you can find some part that actually feels sort of delicious so that you can go back and forth. You can spend time in the deliciousness. You can spend time in the more painful place. Breathing into it and going back and forth with that. And the painful place, like for me right now, like I can feel the back of my hips. I can feel my rotators. And as I roll across it, I can kind of massage it out a little bit. So I also feel like this movement, when we're sort of massaging the inner body with this micro movement, and then maybe there's bigger movement on the outside. So the massage is coming from the outside to the inside to the outside. Breathing. And taking that idea of breath down to the cellular level, letting our cells breathe. They do breathe. Our skin is breathing. So we're sort of more permeable than we often think. And also, everything within us is alive. I mean, it's interesting to say that because even as I speak, cells are dying within us, but cells are growing within us. Like we have this alive living system in dynamic process at all times. But I want to just point out that our bones are alive. And so sometimes when we think, and I keep repeating this because I feel like it's really important, maybe it's important for me to learn it. And that is like our bones are alive, they're curvilinear, they're fluid, they're not these hard, dry things that we sometimes imagine when we think of our bodies. Like if we've studied anatomy, then it can be a very dry, heady thing. But what about when we feel into it? How does it feel in there? Another thing that I've sort of been thinking about lately is like childish childhood joy and childish childhood pleasure. Like I feel like so much adulting happens in our life that sometimes we start to cover over these pleasurable things. So I want to just invite in that part of our light, part of our shininess, part of our sparkle is that child nature that has some wonder in it. And just inviting in whatever way feels good, sustainable, healthy, to just bring back some of those childhood joys, the wonder of things. And sometimes, like, even wondering about something, sometimes just wondering about something is better than really knowing about something. Because when we're in the state of wonder, there's this possibility of imagination and possibility. It's not locked down, it's not set. So allowing yourselves to tune into that childish, joyful wonder and curiosity, playfulness in our bodies. And then one more thing, of course, because I keep layering many, many, many things to this ship on the ocean, is to seek out novelty in the movement, seek out something different. What if I change it just a little bit? What if I slow something down? Or what if I speed it up? What if I shift my weight just a little differently? Can I find something again in that space of wonder and newness? Is there something that I haven't experienced there? Is there something, where is that new sparkly part of me or the old sparkly part of me? And giving yourself full permission and freedom to just explore. It doesn't have to look good. It can be really weird. I've got a interactive cat exploring with me right now. Ah. Yeah, so as we're moving, we're hydrating tissue, we're stimulating lymph. We're doing all these things like just being in our bodies with this presence and awareness. And I am certainly a maximalist, so a lot of things are going on at the same time. But if I just tune into one, I can still let the other things happen, but I can just bring my awareness to one part of it. Like, oh, I can just bring my awareness into my hands, even as all this other activity is going on. Or I can slow down things. Yeah, allowing my hands to, I don't know, shape different realities, letting them have some freedom. It's interesting, as I put my awareness onto my hands and really thought about them, it became actually harder to move them. I think sometimes there is that thing about just letting it happen without too much focus on it, then things can happen. It's like sometimes with the cats when they're playing, I want to take videos of their hilarious maneuvers. But if I'm filming them, the funniest things don't happen, right? It's like the quantum thing with the experiment. How are the experimenters affecting the result of the experiment? But when I tune it back into just playing and being curious, it becomes much more easy, much less effortful. Much less gripping with my mind, just experiencing, just letting myself be in the experience of what's going on. It's become very interesting to me to feel my arms and to feel my sweater and to feel my touch on my arms and my sweater. Shining my aura, shining my sparkly aura, polishing it up. Mm. At Georgina just popping in. I'm gonna, oh, and Maxwell. I am going to mute you, although maybe it would be nice to spotlight you for 1 second. No, just going to mute you. Ah, Maxwell. I'm going to add sound. So I'm going to share sound for a minute, computer audio, and we will listen to Jeff Gersh, who is actually a friend of Georgina's. And just giving like maybe 5 to 10 minutes of playtime with some sound, letting it land in your body. This is Ambient Fields, a guitar project of Jeff Gersh. Yeah. Dancing with your internal space and with the external space as if it's alive, dynamic and alive. your own imagination to be as colorful, as vibrant, as fluid and juicy as you want it. And giving your body like super duper permission to pour itself around, to paint the world in any way that feels good to you. So we started with this idea of really connecting to the earth and to the bones and to the gravity. I want to offer the idea also that we have this lightness inside as well. Like I feel like this music brings on to me this kind of sense of timelessness and suspension. So letting us sort of, yeah, be suspended, timeless. Yeah, I like to consider that the space around me is alive. And so as it's supporting me and helping me and holding me, it's not just the gravity giving me like the ground force of the earth, but also this like vast, spacious body, vast, spacious capacity of being, of sensing. Ah. Yeah, in that vast spaciousness, there's no need, like there's the clenching can just undo and relax because there's so much space. And if that feels uncomfortable, come back to the sense of gravity, feeling your bones, feeling your connectedness to the planet. I always like the idea that we can't fall off the planet. The earth is going to hold us to it. The gravity is going to hold us and support us the way that our body builds form. And then we've got this spaciousness is all around us with air and just space, the potency of the space. Yeah, letting our nervous systems dance with the space. That electrical sensation, bringing aliveness to every cell in our body. It doesn't even need to bring it. The aliveness is already there. Yeah, allowing ourselves to come into this moment as if it's the first time we've ever been here, as if it's the first time we've ever been in our body. So, what's possible here? Are there things that we can let go of from the old moments that don't serve us now in this moment right now? So, it's a new moment, it's a new time of sensing into ourselves. As if we've never been in our bodies before, what would it feel like to come in and explore this new territory? Letting go of the old ideas about ourselves that we may have put on ourselves, that other people may have put on ourselves. Just letting that clear and fall away. If it feels right, we can also hold on to things. There are sometimes pillars of support we feel like in our emotions and in our holdings. And they have gotten us here. Yeah, feeling into our own aliveness with compassion for ourselves, with compassion for other people. Softening any kind of hardness that we're ready to let go of. Softening our eyes, even softening the way we see the world, softening the way we see ourselves. The eyes, the only part of our brain that's outside of our cranium. Oh, so much we take in through the eyes, the light, the actual photon light. Letting us soften our eyes. Let that eye softening move into our brains, so we're softening in our brains as well. Especially the self-judgment. Soft and gentle. Yeah, my biggest angers I've ever had in my life have always been at myself. And sometimes they've taken months for me to forgive myself. But I can't hold that now. So I feel like for me, what I do sometimes is just light candles for the things that I can't hold. Or sometimes, like if I have a fight with Anthony, I light a candle for each one of us. Let the stuff burn away. And I do it sometimes for Russia and the Ukraine. Light a candle. When it's too big to be held inside your own body, you can give it to the earth. You can breathe it into the air. You can wash it away with the water. You can light a candle. Participating with the elements, with the aliveness of the elements to help us process, to make it just a little easier to be a human. And to share with those elements because they are alive, like they are alive. Yeah, to share, the air that's coming and going from our bodies to other people's bodies, to the trees and the plants, to the animals, the water that we're all drinking, washing in. And the earth that we're all connected to. This ground under my butt it's the same ground under yours. We are on this planet together. This big living system. I'm gonna turn off the music. Just give us a minute or two to keep moving. In the silence of our own experience. So just letting us move with ourselves for a minute before we come together at the end. I'm going to stop recording. So everyone in TV land, feel free to reach out to me. Please like and subscribe, do all the things. And I'm just stopping recording.